Coffee Break with Jimmy. I want to talk a little bit about, well, I guess the Attorney General and also the governor, this Tim Waltz, the governor of Minnesota, and this Jacob Frey. They've they've had subpoenas. They've been subpoenaed to go to court, or just subpoenaed to appear in front of Congress. I don't know that Ilhan Omar has been subpoenaed. I think she should be. I think she's probably the catalyst. I mean, come on. How does somebody have $65,000 in the hole, and then they said that she had $50,000 in the bank, and now she's worth $30 million, and that's just in a couple of years' time. How that happens, I don't know. But this fraud that's been going on in Minnesota, this 8 to 9 billion. Trump says it's 19 billion. I don't know that it's 19 billion. I think I think he got confused a little bit. Maybe not. Maybe it is 19 billion. But I heard it was 9 billion. It's $9 billion. That's a lot of money. And this one gal, Jennifer Larson, she actually has an autism support group, or she has actually a center for autism where she actually helps kids out that have autism. And she was there with her son. I believe he was 25 years old, and he also has autism. And because of this fraud that's going on in Minnesota, these Somalians that has gotten this money is affecting her business. And she has a legitimate business, but it's affecting her business, and she might end up losing it altogether. And so she testified before the House of Representatives, their committee this morning. Well, not this morning, yesterday, I believe it was. And so no one knows what's going to happen to her. But this is affecting so many people in so many different ways, this fraud. And all this, these protests, if you want to call them protests, I call them riots. I mean, they just went to a church on Sunday, and they rioted in the church. They said they protested. It wasn't. When do you protest in a church? And that's the day of you go to talk to the Lord. You go to speak to the Lord. You go to pray. You don't need to have protests in your church. I believe there has to be several laws that back him up, that back the churches up on this. I don't know what they are, but I know there has to be some. So there's so many different things that are going on. This is just domestically. This is just happening here in the United States. I don't know. I mean, I talked about this a little bit on my last podcast, and it's just, but this Nick Shirley, he sure opened a can of worms here, and I'm glad he did, because he went out there and he did some filming. He looked up different centers, like the Learning Center. Excuse me. Couldn't even spell the word right. It's supposed to be Learning Center, but they said Learning Center. Anyway, he wanted to know where the kids were on all these they're supposed to be daycare centers, I guess, and people are drawing money and getting money for having daycare centers and not having. There's no kids enrolled. This I believe, all this stuff that's going on right now with ICE there in Minnesota, and I think the people in Minnesota are getting tired of it. I think they're finally waking up and they're getting tired of it, and I think the majority of Minnesotans want this to end and want these protests that are going on that are absolutely wrong. I mean, you should have none of the local police ever help out ICE when they come over there to arrest anybody, and they know who they got to arrest. They all get these people. They know where they're at, and they can help them out. And then, I mean, I know there are some people that are here illegally that actually do work in, farming and they work on hotels and different things, and are maids and whatnot, and they have jobs there and they do a good job and people are happy with them. And I can see where some of that isn't affecting a whole lot of people, but President Trump wants to get the bad people out, and he's gotten most of them out. I mean, he had a hearing the other day where he was in there in the White House, and he was talking about how he must have had 100 pages of different people that were arrested in just Minnesota. So I mean, and they say California is worse. They say the fraud in California is even worse. But what's going on over there with ICE over there? and arresting these people and getting them out of here and deporting them. And they need to deport Ilhan Omar. Okay, let's talk about her a little bit. They need to deport her. I think she's the one behind all the fraud that's going on in Minnesota, and everything that's happening with the protests. All that stuff is to cover up the fraud. Now we're going to find out what these. They did send out subpoenas to the governor, the attorney general there, and then of course the mayor that Jacob Frey, the mayor of Minnesota. They've all been summoned to. They have subpoenas, whether it's to court or whether the subpoenas have to appear before the Senate or the House of Representatives, but they have to appear. That is all a cover-up. And I can't wait. Now, they're talking about California fraud. Here in California is even worse. And I believe that. I mean, we've talked about the bullet train before. We talked about the homeless here. We got more homeless. We got probably at least 40% of the homeless in the whole United States lives here in California. And probably has a lot to do with the weather here. It's, of course, a little bit warmer, so the homeless can stay here and stay warm, I guess. I don't know, but there's a lot of fraud going on in California. Then you have Gavin Newsom. He went to Sweden where Trump was, and Trump was trying to talk about Greenland being part of the United States, just being like Puerto Rico, being just part of the United States, and because we need that for our security, but not only our security, but the security of Canada. Security, they say the security of the Arctic region, that whole area up there. We're talking Europe. We're talking, the United Kingdom, that area there. Sweden. They were up in Sweden, talking to Sweden. That whole area up there, the Golden Dome. If they have something like that in Greenland, they also want to put it also in Alaska, so they have either side of the United States over the Arctic region. And this is to provide us with some security, and not just for us, but for other nations also. So it's like I don't see no reason why not. I think the people of Greenland, which are less than 100,000 people live there. I'm told 53,000. I think there's probably a little bit more, but just say less than 100,000 people live in Greenland. Most of them want the United States to come in, because they know that's going to bring jobs. Because they're going to go after this rare earth minerals that is in Greenland. They'll come here and mine that, and they'll bring people into Greenland. It'll boost their economy. It will. And so they want the United States to come in. And let's face it, we can use that for our security. Okay, and that's what Trump is pitching that right now. So we're going to see what happens with Greenland. So you got Greenland. You got things that are going on abroad. Trump is helping out in Venezuela. Venezuela's going to get their act together. They're already working on it, and they're getting rid of the bad people in Venezuela too. They're jailing them up. So let's just see what Trump has planned. And I think what he has planned for the rest of the world, not just the United States, but the rest of the world, has nothing but good things. Nothing but good things are going to happen from here on out. But this fraud in Minnesota, I keep going back to that because it's like, okay, we're going to find out what the subpoenas are all about and how they're going to have to testify. The governor and the attorney general and the mayor of Minneapolis that Jacob Frey and I think they're going to we're going to see what happens there. But this fraud has been going on for too long, and you know what? This fraud exists. I don't care what state you're in. You could be in Tennessee. There's fraud, and Tennessee is probably a pretty well-run state, I think. But you got Tennessee, Kansas. You're talking about all this flyover country. The fraud exists there, but a lot of it exists in these blue states and blue cities, sanctuary states. That's where the fraud exists. We have to stop that fraud. And there's I think I mentioned it the other day about the Stay Act, where They got this in front of Congress right now, and it's all about voting rights. You have to have your legal identification, voting in the same day, and why they call it the Stay Act, I don't know. But maybe they don't want anybody to know what it's all about. But that's what it's about. It's the voting rights, and to be legally. I mean, this is something we need to investigate just a little bit more. We need to see what's going on there. But and the more I know about it, I'll mention it to you. But we gotta get rid of this fraud. We need Greenland to be part of the United States. Just like I said, Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands. Of course, they're all not states, but they're covered by the United States. Okay, Cuba can even do this. If Cuba get their act together, and fall in line with Venezuela. Now, Venezuela's going to have their own. They got their own country, and they want to have their own country, but they also want to have the help from the United States and from our president. Our president knows what he's talking about. But so we're going to see what happens there, and we're going to see what happens with the fraud in Minnesota. And the ICE in Minnesota, they've already arrested hundreds of people there, thousands of people that I know of, that they've arrested, bad people that have been convicted or on their way to being convicted right now. So that all exists right now, and so we'll see what happens there. But let's see what happens in Greenland. See if we can, if Greenland can be part of. I mean, they're in the Western Hemisphere. Why not? Why not get a little bit of help from the United States to where the United States can boost the economy of Greenland and provide safety for the Arctic end of the world. Because if Russia attacks us with nuclear weapons, it's going to come that way. And so that Golden Dome, what Trump calls the Golden Dome, this defense mechanism, if he has that in Greenland and also in Alaska, it's going to protect us, Canada, and other regions up of the Arctic region. So we'll see what happens there. Trump isn't pulling any. He at least when he says what he wants to do, what he thinks was going to happen, and what's going to be the right thing for everybody and be the best for everyone, he doesn't have a problem saying it. And I believe in him. I believe in Trump 100%. One thing I don't agree: Christopher Columbus is not Italian. President Trump, he's Portuguese. Okay, I have a podcast all about that too. So anyhow, this is please subscribe and hit the notification bell. So next time Jim Coffee Break with Jimmy is on, you'll be notified. And please subscribe and share. Press the like button. Thank you.